right, are you ready for this? We're going to talk about something that is controversial. I'm okay with that. I'm confident in my identity, and however other people believe, that's fine. I'm just telling you how I believe about this, and I think it's an important conversation. My wife and I made a video called Millennial Parents Respond to My Biolic's Competitive Mom Story. And one of my favorite viewers left a comment. Here's what he said, quote, "Exactly. If we had a universal parenting method, I'm sure the government would have mandated it by now. It's all about differentiation. A vast number of people have learning difficulties and disabilities, and previously these were misdiagnosed or not diagnosed. In my opinion, everything has become about mental health and anxiety. Kids as young as 8 are taking antidepressants." To which I quickly asked, "Do you agree with young children taking antidepressants? I'm curious." He responded, quote, "Of course not, LOL. They have side effects. It's like them building up a dependency from an early age, but not a lot of medical professionals seem to be out there prescribing them. Must be plausibility/credibility to them doing it. Mental health has exploded all of a sudden. Now every other young person is taking off time from school or leaving education altogether because they're given validation of this illness. Some other folk use it as an excuse to claim welfare and disability benefit. Some genuinely suffer from it, in my opinion. I don't think it's depression. I think it has a lot to do with kids needing a good kick up the backside. People have to learn to push themselves. What do you think?" End quote. Now, I appreciate this comment 100%. And I think we can have an intelligent conversation about this and reaction to it. So my personal reaction to it, as an unprofessional, just a guy who's a YouTuber, as a parent, we said in another video, we don't spank our kids. My kids are well behaved. My son, this past month and then a year before, when he was in kindergarten, got the Children's Achievement Award, or whatever, the best behaved kid in the class thing, The whole time he's been in school, his teachers always come to me and say, "What a well-behaved kid." In preschool, they've always said that, all right? We don't spank our children, but we do discipline them. We have our own system that's not physical force. So I think it's all about communication and discipline and having a system. Personally, I don't believe in physical force to do that. But I really want to focus on this concept of medicating children for antidepressant and even hyperactivity. Here's what I want to start out by saying. Are there people who are truly depressed? Is depression a real thing? Absolutely. And do some people need medication in order to function? Absolutely. Some people do. Some people do. Some people are truly depressed. Depression is a real thing. That's what I want you to keep in mind as you hear the next thing I'm about to say. However, because some people truly are depressed and need medication in order to function, it opens up the door for everybody else. And if we're being honest, there absolutely are people who can self-identify as depressed or self-identify their own child and say, my son, he's depressed, he needs antidepressants. He's sad all the time. They take him to the doctor, they take him to the right doctor, who says, "I can prescribe you this and this, and we'll take it from there." Because truly depressed people exist that need the medication, it makes it easy for anyone else who self-identifies to get the same care. And that actually happens, and it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about, because even now when I'm saying this, it's easy for someone who maybe is depressed or knows someone who is depressed to say, no, you're getting it wrong though. You're acting like depression's not a real thing. Can I say it enough? Depression's a real thing. The point of this is there are people who abuse the system, and therefore it opens the door for everyone. And what this reminds me of is one of my favorite movies called Garden State, starring Zach Braff and Natalie Portman. And the plot of this movie is the main character, Zach Braff's character, I believe when he actually is 8 years old, of all things, something traumatic happens to him. His father, who is a doctor, prescribes him an antidepressant. So this child grows up from age 8 to age 26 being on antidepressants. By the time he's an adult at age 26, he's on a cocktail of them, I think like a dozen different antidepressants, and then ones to treat the side effects, okay? So at age 26, his mother dies. he goes back to New Jersey for his mother's funeral. And for the first time since age 8, he says, what would happen if I unplug from this medication and I just live my life? Because he basically says, I don't feel like I can feel anything. I don't feel like I'm really living. So he experiments himself by going off the medication and realizing as an adult, he makes the decision himself that he should have never been living his life on all that. The truth was, something traumatic happened to him that he never actually dealt with. His dad was a doctor, and his dad, instead of helping him through it, prescribed him medication, antidepressants. Instead of his dad, the doctor, actually giving him the counsel that he needed, he gave him drugs. And that's the takeaway. Okay, so let me be so clear on this. Here's what I believe is happening. Because depression is real, and because certain people definitely need medication in order to function through it, it opens the door for anyone else who self-identifies that they need it, or they identify that their child needs it, and then therefore you're able to get this medication. So is that a real thing? Yes. To deny depression is a horrible thing. But also to deny that the system's being abused is also a horrible thing. I feel that this is a conversation that needs to take place, but I think too easily, even with what I've said in this video, you can take certain little snippets, take it out of context, and you can turn me into a guy who says, depression's not real, no one needs medication for that. See, I just created a soundbite to make it easy for someone if they wanted to take that out of context. When the whole reality of it is, because of the real thing, the counterfeit, the exception, the exploitation exist as well alongside the reality. This is social commentary on what's actually going on. These are my views on what's happening with children being prescribed antidepressants. Now, what do you think?